Over the next few minutes, you're going to learn what to do if your very young child asks you what is sex. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Sitting in a Car. I'm Sarah Sproul and I sit in the car with you each week, answering a question to help you raise your confident and caring young person who respects themselves and the people around them. Now, my answer to this question this week comes from pillar number 2 of the Evolved Family Method. And that pillar gives us all the actions and skills to become parents who are able to have open, natural conversations with our kids about all sorts of sensitive things, even things like sex. So what most courageous but tongue-tied parents do is wait until their child comes to them with a question, not realizing that there are so many age-appropriate topics of conversation related to sex that we can be having with our even very young children. What I've noticed is when courageous tongue-tied parents wait for a child to ask a question, they are constantly second-guessing themselves and wondering, am I doing the right thing by waiting? Is there something I could be talking about? Is there maybe a conversation that I should be starting with my child before they ask a question? So in this video, I'm going to talk about that exact problem and help you prepare for the what is sex question so that you can move from a courageous but tongue-tied parent to an evolved communicating family. Let's get going. So step 1, you can start understanding what super secret messages might be hanging around in your mind that influence how willing you are to have conversations with children about bodies and topics related to sex. When you discover what those beliefs are, you can then make a decision whether you want them to be influencing your parenting or not. So here's how you do that. We have all been given rules about how comfortable we should feel about having conversations about sensitive stuff like sex. And these rules will have been given to us by the adults who raised us when we were small. They didn't give us these rules on purpose. It was just something we picked up by observing how comfortable or uncomfortable they felt having conversations like this. So these rules, they're not something you consciously looked at around and sought out. They were something you picked up just by observing your environment. So once you work out what your beliefs are about conversations to do with sex, you can actively choose to change them based on new and accurate information that you seek out as an adult. Step 2, it's time to find out all the age-appropriate topics of conversation you can have with very young children. Did you know there are even topics of conversation you can have with children before they can even talk? Yep, you heard that right. And here's how you do that. You need to find a trusted and reliable source of information, right? We're not talking about online free information about how to have conversations with kids about sex or how to talk about sex with a child of 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever it is. We are not talking about free information because free information online can be based on values that aren't your own. Maybe values that you don't even want to teach your child or values that you want to actively not teach your child. You are looking for information from someone whose values match your own, whose ethos matches your own, someone who has experience that you believe can support your family to have conversations in an easier, ongoing, more natural way. For example, here's a piece of accurate information about conversations to do with sex. Did you know that children from the age of 6 can understand how intercourse leads to sperms and eggs getting together? And did you also know that children 4 and younger can work out that sperms and eggs get together and can make a new human? That's some age-appropriate information just for you. Step 3, you can learn to start conversations without waiting for your kids to ask questions. When you discover there are so many ways to comfortably start talking to a child about something to do with sex, you will actively be able to find a strategy that feels the best for you and start a conversation when you feel ready, rather than waiting around for your kid to ask you at maybe the most inopportune moment. Here's how you do that. Think about all the different ways information gets passed between people. There are verbal ways to do that, body language, I've got a list here, questions, statements, written information, recorded voice messages, and there's even more. So for example, inside the Evolved family method, we have 6 of my favorite ways to start a sentence. And I'm going to give you my most favorite one now. It goes something like this. I learnt something new today. It's a really easy way to start a conversation with a child about something that you feel a bit unsure about from a standing start. You don't have to wait for them to ask a question. So that one again is, I learnt something new today. And then you add the thing that you want to talk to them about. So you've just learnt 3 steps to solve the problem of feeling worried about your child asking you the question, what is sex? And then being too young to hear the answer, right? But these steps are no good if you feel too awkward or too embarrassed to take action on them. But these 3 steps are not going to do you any good if you feel too awkward or embarrassed to even make the first move. So if you would like to get help about how to feel more natural and open having these conversations, then find the link somewhere around this video or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast, and give me your details, and I can tell you next time the Evolve School opens, because in the Evolve School is where we go into a lot more detail and provide you with a lot more hand-holding and support to get moving to have conversations that your kid needs to hear and have with you. And that's Sitting in a Car for another week, where I've answered a question to help you raise your confident and caring young person who respects themselves and the people around them. That's it for now. See you soon. Bye. Let's try again.